guys come in. Like the videos you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21, where we talk hot topics, trending topics, what's going on in the news. Don't forget, the best way to support the channel is by hitting the subscribe, turning on your notification, and also liking the video as you guys come in. Yes, that keeps us in the algorithm, pushes us into the algorithm. Allow me a few seconds to go ahead and do my disclaimer. My system, do my disclaimer. I hope everyone's having a happy Saturday morning. Good morning, good morning. It's going to take a few seconds for this to cut on, but come on in, like the videos you guys come in. I appreciate everyone for being here. Let me know in the comments if there's any big plans you guys have for the weekend. Let me know. I'm waiting for this to load up. But yeah, let me know in the comments if there's any big plans that you guys have. Thanks for being here. It's going to take a few seconds. Um, let me see. Let me see. I might play this and then I'll have to do my disclaimer because I think this might take a second. Let me see if it will. Like the videos you guys come in. Like the videos you guys come in. Like the videos you guys come in. I'm trying to boot this up so I can do my disclaimer. Hold on one second.
You have to approve all contracts at your department over $100 million.
No, sir, I have a policy in place that I review contracts. My deputy chiefs have the ability to review anything under 5 million. Above that, I evaluate and look at.
Okay. And you do that, I understand, to try to curb waste and abuse of tax, right?
Yes, sir. In fact, it's been extremely effective. We've saved the taxpayers over $13.2 billion just by evaluating contracts, negotiating lower ones, and canceling ones that aren't necessary to do our duties.
How do you square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Hold on one second. Like the videos you guys come in.
President tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
And the people that you ended up picking were people who had formerly done your political work back in South Dakota. Is that right?
No, that's not correct, sir.
I think it is.
No, it's not, sir. The individuals who, I believe the careers who they chose were two different media firms. There's been conversation about their subcontractors, but we have no legal authority to look into subcontractors on work like that.
Okay. And you're saying that you're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time. Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president
OMB?
do this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And one thing, Senator, I think would be...
Let me play this clip before we continue. Hold on one second.
KRISTI Noem. She is no longer the head of Department of Homeland Security and will be moved into a new position. I think that is one of the things that is not being reported as widely. KRISTI Noem had been fired was the word that was being used a lot. President Trump has no issue firing people. James Comey didn't get a reassignment as a special envoy when he was fired from the FBI. So when you read President Trump fired KRISTI Noem, I think it is a misuse of that term because he clearly values her input. So the president reassigns her. It's a newly created position, the special envoy to the Shield of the Americas.
With the strategic Homeland intervention.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you come in.
About this, when you're looking forward, this new initiative, security initiative in the Western Hemisphere. What has President Trump been teasing a lot lately? Cuba. So when I say special envoys actually do work under the president here, I have a feeling that the special envoy for the Shield of the Americas will be KRISTI Noem. She is no longer the head of Department of Homeland Security and will be moved into a new position. I think that is one of the things that is not being reported as widely. KRISTI Noem had been fired was the word that was being used a lot. President Trump has no issue firing people. James Comey didn't get a reassignment as a special envoy when he was fired from the FBI. So when you read President fired KRISTI Noem, I think it is a misuse of that term because he clearly values her input. So the president reassigns her. It's a newly created position, the special envoy to the Shield of the Americas.
With the strategic Homeland.
So I don't know if that's from a movie, so I can't play it because I don't want to get I don't want to have copyright strike.
You're looking forward, this new initiative, security initiative in the Western Hemisphere. What has President Trump been teasing a lot lately? Cuba. So when I say special envoys actually do work under the president here, I have a feeling that the special envoy for the Shield of the Americas will be KRISTI Noem. She is no longer the head of Department of Homeland Security and will be moved into a new position.
Like the videos you guys come in. Like the videos you guys come in.
To know is how effective that communications has been. That
they were
overwhelmingly
effective in your name recognition. I mean, I personally just, I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward spot, and and I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut, and I'm going to spend $220 million running them, that he would have agreed to that. I don't think Russ Vogt at OMB would have agreed to that. It's something we have to defend. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. My research shows that you did not bid them out, that you pick. In fact, one of the people you picked, the strategy group, Safe America Media was a company formed 11 days before you picked.
It seems as if they moved her to a different position, fired from one position, but moved to another one.
And that the strategy group got most of the money, and the head of that is married to your former spokesperson. Look, we all have friends who are qualified. I'm not quibbling with that. It troubles me. A fifth to a quarter of $1 billion.
So let's continue. I'll come back to that one. Like the videos you guys come in. Like the videos you guys come in. Hold on one second.
Justice for Cricket didn't come quickly, but it came. This is just another day.
Hold on.
KRISTI Noem has been fired. Justice for Cricket didn't come quickly, but it came. This is just another day. In 2026, the sexual orientation...
Because remember, it was stated that she was fired, but then it looks like she got reassigned. Yeah, she got reassigned. So let's continue.
...of any government official is not anyone's business but their own, which is why I found today's post by our current president to be so offensive.
Be kind in the comments. First off, it's Saturday. I don't need no crap this morning. So be kind in the comments. You don't like what's being said? Go on your page.
Just learned directly from Donald Trump on Truth Social that KRISTI Noem is out.
Well, what's done is done. Not sure why I'm so surprised. A tough lady who rocked the Ellen cut pretty hard back in the day, but that... not gay. Fired. Well, that makes much more sense.
The current Secretary, KRISTI Noem, who has served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas.
Ah, yes.
Told
the
you.
Shield of the Americas. I believe that's the same place KRISTI Noem told their children their dog Cricket went. But I guess now we finally know what it takes to get fired from the Trump administration. So if someone thinks they can spend $170 million of taxpayer money on a pair of Gulfstream jets, tell a series of lies to justify the killing of an innocent...
Let's
Is being replaced. KRISTI Noem, who served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, which is a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere that they're announcing on Saturday at Doral in Florida. The president says, I thank KRISTI for her service at Homeland.
So you have fun. I'm sorry I can't stick around for it, but God bless you. And may God continue to bless our great country.
We do need to have some breaking news. This comes a day after a difficult couple of days on Capitol Hill in both the House and the Senate for KRISTI Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary. She is being replaced. KRISTI Noem, who served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, which is a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere that they're announcing on Saturday at Doral in Florida. The president says, I thank KRISTI for her service at Homeland.
So you have fun. I'm sorry I can't stick around for it, but God bless you. And may God continue to bless our great country.
We do need to have some breaking.
some new position.
Difficult couple of days on Capitol Hill in both the House and the Senate for KRISTI Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary. She is being replaced. KRISTI Noem, who served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, which is a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere that they're announcing on Saturday at Doral in Florida. The president says, I thank KRISTI for her service at Homeland.
So you have fun. I'm sorry I can't stick around for it, but God bless you. And may God continue to bless our great country.
We do need to have some breaking news. This comes a day after a difficult couple of days.
And finally, funnel millions of DHS dollars to an advertising company whose CEO is married to their ex-spokesperson and was formed nearly 8 days before being awarded this contract. Well, they will pay the ultimate price. Eventually. Here's KRISTI Noem today, waxing poetic about her time as head of DHS.
In fact, it reminded me of the quote that is often attributed to George Orwell that states, people sleep peacefully in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf.
Quickest way to improve vision.
This is the quickest way to improve vision without drop surgery.
Like the video, like the video. I'm going to play it from here to be louder. Hold on one second. Like the video as you guys come in.
Pair of Gulfstream jets, tell a series of lies to justify the killing of an innocent civilian, followed by telling a series of lies to justify the killing of another innocent civilian, and finally funnel millions of DHS dollars to an advertising company whose CEO is married to their ex-spokesperson and was formed merely 8 days before being awarded this contract. Well, they will pay the ultimate price. Eventually. Here's KRISTI Noem today, waxing poetic about her time as head of DHS.
In fact, it reminded me of the quote that is often attributed to George Orwell that states, people sleep peacefully in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf.
Wow. If there was any sign that our nation was in the midst of a dystopian nightmare, look no further than our newly former DHS leader quoting George Orwell. I guess today was Librarian Outfit Day. Now, as for what really did Noem in, many people are pointing to this multi-million-dollar DHS ad campaign. Well, maybe not the campaign, but the cover-up.
There was a key moment this week at that Senate hearing. This over $200 million ad campaign came up, and Senator Kennedy, a Republican, was pressing her on why was the funding as high as it was. He expressed deep concern that it was too much money, and he asked the secretary about it, and she claimed that the president was engaged in this. Now, we just saw from our own reporting from Rachel Scott and others that the president is now claiming that that is not true.
Yes, because if there's one thing Donald Trump hates, it's wasteful spending. But seeing as we, the taxpayers, shelled out so much cash for this ad, we might as well see what we got for it.
Why do I love these wide open spaces? They remind me of why our forefathers came here, not just for its beauty, but for the freedom only.
It's her on a horse. She did I don't know if it's going to turn to the side. She did a few ads and that's what they're showing. I'll move forward from her ads. Like the video as you guys come in. And many people are talking about how much did she spend on those ads.
America provides. I'm KRISTI Noem.
Now, to be fair, every DHS official has made themselves the center of their messaging. I'm sure that if we go back to the Biden administration, we'll find Alejandro Mayorkas taking part in an equally elaborate and costly video.
If you see something, say something is more than a slogan. It's how we protect ourselves, our loved ones, and our communities. You play a key role by recognizing and reporting suspicious activity.
Or not. You see, that is what a DHS ad campaign should look like.
Reminder, please hit the subscribe button, you guys. We're trying to hit 50K. Do me a huge favor to hit the subscribe button. It's free. Continue to get the likes up, everyone. That's free as well. Please double tap that screen to get the likes up. Thank you.
One step above an ISIS hostage video because you're selling Homeland Security and not Jeep Wranglers. We don't need a horse trainer and a sweeping mountain shot. We need a clear message given to us by someone who looks like he started a GoFundMe campaign to pay for a couple of high school kids to film this in their parents' basement. Now, another reason Noem is headed to a farm upstate is due to rumors that she was having an extramarital affair with her subordinate, Corey Lewandowski.
Allegedly.
By the way, Corey Lewandowski, I mean, to refer to him as a subordinate is like such a joke. He's probably the reason she got the role.
That's Megyn Kelly,
wow,
Feminist of the Year. But look, these are merely rumors. Rumors which Noem swatted down yesterday as being pure tabloid garbage.
I'm further told that Corey Lewandowski is expected to leave with her. Of course, the rumors of an affair between the two were one of the factors that I'm told compelled the president to remove her as DHS secretary.
See? Pure tabloid garbage that served as the basis for Noem to lose her job. And of course, Trump simply could not abide because being a faithful spouse is paramount to this president. Donald Trump's replacement for Noem was announced in the same post as her firing, and the president's chosen Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, seen here this week describing the horrors of war.
War is ugly. It smells bad, and if anybody's ever been there and been able to smell the war that's happened around you and taste it and feel it in your nostrils and hear it, it's something that you'll never forget.
So true. It is impossible to forget stuff like that, especially when you never had the experience in the first place. It turns out, according to Mullen's bio in his own website, there is no mention of him serving in the U.S. military. But that's not to say that he never fought. On that same website, it clearly states Markwayne has always been a fighter. He is a former mixed martial arts fighter with a professional record of 5-0. So I'm not exactly sure what he was tasting and having fill his nostrils, but I don't think the term was war. And to this day, he doesn't hesitate to open up a can of whoop ass.
Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Stop it.
Is that your solution, everybody?
Look, is that a completely embarrassing display for a sitting senator? Yes. Do I secretly wish all Senate hearings ended this way so I could see Chuck Grassley and Marco Rubio go at it in the octagon? 100%. Now, Markwayne Mullin doesn't start his job until March 31st, so there's a lot to do before then. Mostly shopping. He's going to need some cowboy gear, some G.I. Joe gear, and don't forget all the important wrist accessories, because the only thing more embarrassing than wrongfully deporting hundreds of thousands of immigrants is doing it without a $50,000 watch on your wrist. Personally, I think Mr. Mullin is going to do a terrific job at DHS as long as he does what all other people who run departments do, which is not run their departments. Pam Bondi, KRISTI Noem, Kash Patel, and everybody else are all merely appendages of Trump. They have one job, making daddy look good. And when you stop doing that, you find yourself out on your ass. KRISTI Noem kissed Trump's ring and did his bidding as much as anybody, and she thought that protected her from his wrath. But like everyone else before her, what she didn't realize is that she is completely expendable. Just ask Michael Cohen, his fixer for decades, former head of the RNC, Ronna McDaniel, who he scapegoated for GOP election losses, his former Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, who he called dumb as a rock, or his former press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, who he trashed online. or his own former vice president, who he was more than happy to see get fitted with a noose after Pence refused to certify an election that Trump lost. Hopefully, Senator Mullen can learn from everyone before him that his tenure at DHS will be brief, and when it's over, he will be swiftly kicked to the curb. But on the plus side, being awarded the auspicious honor of serving at the pleasure of our corrupt authoritarian in chief,
It's something that you'll never forget.
I couldn't agree more.
Like the video, like the video.
Before you go, if you enjoyed this content,
like the videos, you guys come in. We were just listening to Brian Cohen. Like the videos, you guys come in.
Host of The Hill Sunday and News Nation's political editor, and Jesse Weber, host of Jesse Weber Live and News Nation's chief legal analyst. Thank you both so much. So, Jesse, the calls are coming, as we knew they would, from Democratic lawmakers to investigate Noem for perjury. What would that look like? They say they've got documents showing Lewandowski signed off on all sorts of contracts, and she testified under oath, no, he didn't.
Okay, so first of all, if somebody has a new show, I got to give you credit on that graphic about the $220 million. That's
It's the best graphic
an amazing
this
graphic.
staff has ever built.
Before I even get into the law of this, we just have to cut through it. This is the president's DOJ. It is a Senate that is controlled by Republicans. The likelihood that we actually see a full investigation on perjury charges and this actually go to a criminal referral is unlikely. Now, having said that, she would not be the first person who testified under oath that could potentially face a perjury charge. Notoriously, they're difficult to prosecute because you have to prove someone knowingly and willingly made a false statement. Now, however, between what she said, the president signed off on a $220 million ad, and he says not, which, by the way, I'll have to tell you, I don't think that I'd ever want to investigate this because during any criminal case, there's discovery, and we would find out what were the internal communications. Where I think she really got into questionable water was the Corey Lewandowski part, because Blumenthal says, allegedly, there is documentation showing that Lewandowski
I'm sure we'll see it if it's there.
signed off on these contracts, and there's a $250,000 payment to a firm that had ties to Lewandowski. Did he know about it? Did she know about it?
Yeah, Chris, there's also the fact that President Trump himself is saying Noem didn't tell the truth when she said he signed off on this massive ad campaign. He called Senator Kennedy himself. He called lawmakers. He's called reporters all day today, telling them, I never signed off on that, even though she said I did.
Jesse makes a great point, which is even with a straight arrow Justice Department, and even if the Senate was in Democratic hands, as Jim Comey proves, proving perjury against your congressional testimony is a tough case to make, and grown-up prosecutors often say we'd rather not try to prove the intent of a conversation that somebody was having in testimony. But Corey Lewandowski is in trouble, right? He is for sure in trouble. National Review is reporting tonight in this impeccably sourced piece that they're going through. They're talking to people at the department. They're talking to Republicans on these committees. They're talking to folks about not just these bids, not just the questionable bids around this, but other self-dealing that they're saying that Lewandowski engaged in which he may have been benefiting or using his position to get access to other things. So on the list of eventual Trump pardons, if you are Corey Lewandowski, and maybe KRISTI Noem too, you want to stay in the president's good graces because you may be wanting one of those in case the Democratic administration comes in.
Yeah, that National Review article is fascinating because it says that as long ago as a year ago, White House officials were calling DHS officials saying, is Corey Lewandowski profiting off of these contracts? Is he pocketing money? And KRISTI Noem, Jesse, to that point, KRISTI Noem was asked that point blank in her testimony. Did Corey Lewandowski profit off of any of this?
And my understanding is contracts that are over $100,000 have to go through her. So it raises two questions. One,
how could you not know?
Which, if that's the case, goes to an even different issue. It goes to the idea of, were you not really running the agency? Were you not part of it? By the way, I just have to say, from a perjury point of view, You usually don't have black and white. The $220 million ad campaign, you have Noem saying the president knew about it, signed off on it. He said he didn't. That's like, from a legal analysis, is pretty easy for a prosecutor to go forward with. Yeah. But again, the idea that this will happen and what will come of it is interesting.
Pam Bundy's stewardship.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below.
Like the video as you guys come in. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. There's about 320 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. It's free. Please hit the subscribe button. It's free. We're trying to get to 50K by this month. Let's continue. Fair use. Hold on one second.
It's a very clear message that was sent to now former Secretary KRISTI Noem. Her ass is out. Theoretically, Mark Wayne Mullins is in. But there was an exchange between Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove and KRISTI Noem just the other day that was very telling in the failure of Noem to be able to answer truthfully. There was also a lot of perjury that was going on by KRISTI Noem in her role as Secretary of DHS. It was important to get details of how Noem has repeatedly failed the American people in that job, but also to talk about that failed war powers resolution vote for the House yesterday, and the implications of that failed vote. Take a listen to the conversation that I just had with the Congresswoman. Joining me now is California Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove, who I affectionately refer to as SKD. I think you got to take a victory lap. Before you do, I want to set this up, please, properly, Congresswoman. One, we heard from Senator Kennedy, who I call Foghorn Leghorn, who wanted to say that after KRISTI Noem's performance before the U.S. Senate on Tuesday, Donald Trump called him, quote, mad as a murder hornet about her testimony. And you know what? I will say, some credit. He did grill KRISTI Noem pretty hard about the $220 million PR campaign that just showed her on the back of a horse. So I will give him some credit. But you know what's funny? I knew that was the beginning of the end for KRISTI Noem when the Republicans went as hard as they did against her on Tuesday.
True. And I think when she came over to the House, we just put the nails in the coffin. But you could smell blood in the water for sure. I don't really know what a murder hornet is, but I do know that when I finally watched the commercial of her, or the ad, whatever it was, of her on that horse trying to pretend like she was John Wayne, I was like, who is this supposed to help or influence or recruit? I mean, it was money going down that gold toilet.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is Donald Trump is quoted in media saying he didn't even spend that amount of money for his campaign. So, I mean, I do know plastic surgery is expensive. I didn't know it was $200 million expensive. So let's move on, though, to the point where she does walk that fateful plank walk, I'm going to call it, walking the plank, into the House hearing that she had with y'all. We're going to play it now. But all kidding aside, I want everybody to listen really carefully to this exchange that you had with then Secretary Noem, because I do think this was the nail in the coffin. Let's take a listen.
So, Secretary Noem, at any time during your tenure as Director of Department of Homeland Security, have you had sexual relations with Corey Lewandowski?
Mr. Chairman, I am shocked that we're going down and peddling tabloid garbage in this committee today.
Reclaiming
and ma'am, one thing that I would tell you is that he is a special government employee who works for the White House. There are thousands of them in the federal government.
So reclaiming my time, Secretary, it is okay for you to be offended by the question. It is okay for you to be offended by the question. But it is also a real question.
So what I would say
and you should be able to answer the question.
What we do at the Department of Homeland Security every single
and without any hesitation,
every single day is to protect.
If someone is asking if you or any federal official is sleeping with their subordinate, that should be the easiest. You should be wanting to answer that question because it is not about your sex life. It is about your judgment.
That kind of garbage.
It is about reclaiming my time so that I can hear myself.
Time belongs to the gentle lady from California, but it'd be nice if you would let her respond.
I will. I want to let you know it is about your judgment and decision making. It is about the 260,000 employees that work under you that want to make sure that you are giving information and making decisions clearly. It is about conflict of interest. It is about a national security risk.
I mean,
dance is more than just using your body. So much of dance is in your expressions. Squinting has likely contributed to my crow's feet.
Like the video, like the video.
I make this.
I got to give you credit where credit is due. I know that there is a salaciousness to this idea of Corey Lewandowski, who, by the way, is also out of his job as well, him being, quote, special government employee. But
you are right. It has everything to do with judgment. It has everything to do with her doing something inappropriate with a subordinate. It has to do with all the other employees are there. I mean, what I didn't hear, Congresswoman, was a denial under oath to your question.
That's the word on all the streets, right? She strung together all of these words and she never said no, or she never said yes. I want to just share that it was an uncomfortable question to ask. That's not what I want to do, right? And it probably is an offensive question to ask, but it should be a very simple one to answer because it is about judgment. It is about conflict of interest. It's about accountability and leadership. You have all of these people who work under you looking up to you, and they want moral leadership. They want clear decision-making coming from their leader. And what we have seen from KRISTI Noem is that she has refused to take accountability for all of the catastrophic failures that have come out under DHS. So the question is, if you're not taking responsibility, is it because maybe you weren't the one making those decisions? Or was it because your decisions were clouded by some other kind of relationship? And our national security is at risk, right? Liability in the department is at risk. Conflicts of interest question. There is a reason why both Republicans and Democrats were coming for her about FEMA and FEMA contracts and this $220 million ad campaign and this $70 million luxury jet she was leasing. Because people are like, who's making these decisions? And when you're kicking people off of healthcare and then they see you on a horse with some chaps on, riding through the plains, is it your poor judgment? Or is your judgment being clouded by someone else who has been signing off on contracts, who's been vetoing contracts, right? Who may have had some relationship with an entity that started 8 days before the window closed to get a $143 million contract from DHS. So these are real questions. And the American people deserve to know. Now, like I said, wildly uncomfortable. And I think it actually does take a lot of courage to ask somebody on the mic, hey, lady, like, what's up with you? But it's also the question that everyone was asking that no one wanted to ask.
And that's why you do. You ask the uncomfortable questions. And you know what? I actually would respectfully disagree with you. I don't think it's an uncomfortable question. I think it's only uncomfortable for her with her husband sitting there, right? I mean, that's uncomfortable for her, but it's not uncomfortable for the American people who are suffering right now because she told the Senate that $220 million vanity project that she did. One, she lied. She said Donald Trump told her she could do it, and Trump made it very clear to Senator Kennedy and others he did not. So that's a whole other cup of tea of congressional perjury right there, which they have gone after other Democrats for less. Number one, but number two, that the big bullshit bill, I know I own it, you don't have to call it that, but that has hurt Americans in such profound ways. And that doesn't even encompass that $220 million that she said that ad's going to stop running at the end of this month, by the way, which is outrageous. But that doesn't even cover the $175 billion that ICE has. I mean, this is just the craziness that is going on. I'm so glad you also talked about FEMA because FEMA is really important. I want people to leave this conversation you and I are having today with this understanding as well, because you called this out appropriately. So, turns out whistleblowers have come forward in the last few days. KRISTI Noem, as the Secretary of Homeland Security, delayed disaster aid approval by at least 3 weeks on average, leaving hundreds of FEMA projects in limbo. One example, survivors of severe storms and tornadoes in my backyard in South Florida. From April of 2023, we're still waiting for approval to get disaster unemployment assistance as of last September 2025. This is not a Biden administration thing. This is a Trump administration thing under Secretary Noem. So it's not just your question about Corey Lewandowski. It's not about the Vanity Project ad. It has everything to do with how she was running FEMA and disaster aid.
Well, and Katie, the other part of that, which they alluded to during the Senate hearing, was Corey the one deciding when to send out the FEMA money? Was it he the one reviewing these FEMA contracts? So, that's also why the question was so important. I live in LA. We had the Palisades fire. We had the Altadena fire. How come we haven't gotten our money? Because there are Republicans that live in Palisades. There are Republicans that live in Altadena. That's why Tillis was so upset. He's like, are you kidding me? In North Carolina, and I haven't gotten my money? That's why Kevin Kiley was so upset. Kevin is now in a new district because of Prop 50, and he was like, I've been calling y'all for my FEMA money. And the only reason why the application is still good is because the Democrats in the state of California are issuing me extensions so I can continue to beg you to give me my money. So why is she not giving out these FEMA contracts? Why is she not sending out the disaster relief? Who is reviewing this? And who is holding it up? She has completely decimated the bureaucracy of FEMA, which is all about helping us when we are most in need. So that's why the lady has to go.
Well, here's my concern. Well, before I get to the next thing, I do want to ask you. She now has this job, quote, the Shield of the Americas, which sounds
like a project that has yet to be greenlit from Hollywood.
Facts. Please hit the subscribe button. Continue to get the likes up, everyone. We're at 37 likes. Please get the likes up to 100, please. Double tap the screen to get the likes up. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Please double tap the screen to get the likes up. Thank you. And please also hit subscribe. There's 262 in the building.
Like, I mean, the script sitting at Ted Sarandos' desk right now. That's what that is.
it sounds like that ish is going to go straight to video, honey. It's not even going to make it
to Tubi. It's going to Tubi.
But the Shield of the Americas, though, even if Noem, because I as an American want to know, even if she escapes to this exile position of the Shield of the Americas, we can still continue to follow up on what she did wrong, though, right? As the Secretary of DHS, because I do feel like there is a lot of unanswered questions that remain, not only about ICE, CBP, et cetera, and her culpability, by the way, because that was her jurisdiction. I want everybody to understand. Bovino and others, Tom Holm, whatever, they're all operating under this, umbrella of DHS. But I want to make sure, just because she escapes to that place, that she's not untouchable now because she went there.
Oh, no, and girlfriend, that Shield of the Americas, she's on an island by herself. The fact that she got fired by Trump means he's not going to be using any of his capital to protect her. And so she is going to have to reappear because it looks as if she has perjured herself. There are documents that show that Corey Lewandowski is a signatory, okay?
Guys, there's a reason this isn't sold in aisle 12 at Home Depot, and they're trying to hide it from the public. All right, not doing anything special here, just spraying the whole oven. Everywhere it's dirty, it gets sprayed. And now it's fully covered. I'm just wiping with a soft towel, not scrubbing hard. This is literally coming off.
Like the video, like the video.
Yeah, that's what the actual...
On these contracts. And she said that was not the case. So she will be coming back before us in some form or another. And I want to remind KRISTI Noem, if she watches you, that she is not protected by the Supreme Court immunity that was given to Donald Trump.
They all should be reminded, by the way. All of them working. Pammy Jo with the bad hair, Todd Blanche, etc. Now, before we shift gears, though, I do want to ask Mark Wayne Mullen, who has now been handpicked to replace KRISTI Noem. I hate to say this, and this is no joke, he ain't any better.
No.
He is not any better. He has made his position on immigration explicitly clear. I will bring a little bit of levity to this, though. Somebody posted on social yesterday, and I got to give them mad props. They said something to the effect of, how do you expect Mark Wayne Mullen to be able to deal with the border if he can't even control his 2 first names? But listen, all kidding aside, though, I am concerned for the American people because, A, things are still bad in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So unless anybody thinks it's gotten better, it has not. B, there's a lot going on about Iran, and I'm going to ask you about that in a second. But this Mark Wayne Mullen guy, he is not there to be a salve or on the wounds that have been created by KRISTI Noem here.
No, I believe that I don't know him. I've never met him, but I believe him to be a bad hombre based on what I have seen. I think at the end of the day, real talk, Donald Trump canned KRISTI Noem because she was bad for his image, right? She was dragging him down. Everybody was talking about her, not him. And so he's like, get rid of her. That's not actually why you should get rid of a secretary. You should be doing it based on performance and how they're delivering for the American people. And the fact that that wasn't a priority for him should continue to alarm us all. Mullen has no military experience, no law enforcement experience. He sort of suggested that he was in the military, but documents show he was not. He has no experience with crisis management or disaster mitigation. So I don't have a lot of faith in him. It appears that he's very charismatic. I guess he likes to rough and tumble with people in the Senate hearings. Maybe that's what drew him to Donald Trump. I have my other theory that maybe he's like throwing him in the ring to be considered for a presidential candidate in 2028, and he's like trying to move all of his macho men around to see which person resonates most with the American people. But that's just my sort of, insomnia theory. But I do know he's going to play it nice and cool while he's trying to get confirmed. And at the end of the day, we have to stage.
Please hit the subscribe button, you guys. Please hit the subscribe button. Hitting the is free. Hitting the like button is free. I'm seeing a little movement, but not a lot. Please hit subscribe. I'm working hard on a Saturday.
To the values that we want DHS to uphold, right? That's what all of this has been about. And he needs to uphold those standards just like KRISTI Noem failed to uphold them, which was why she got tanked.
Well, you use the phrase macho men, and I think it's incredibly on point. That toxic masculinity we're seeing being exercised in fatal way by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. who has unapologetically catapulted the United States into a war with Iran. And lest anybody be confused, because Republicans are trying to gaslight us into thinking it's not a war, it's a war that required congressional authorization. I was disappointed to see that, but yet predictably, the House yesterday voted to not support a war powers resolution. And you know what? I spoke to Jim Himes, your colleague. You know what's amazing is you could vote as Congress to make them explain why we're doing what we're doing. And what's the risk in educating Congress and giving you guys the opportunity to do what you're required and constitutionally supposed to be doing, which is giving them authorization to go to war?
Katie, I'm so mad because essentially that vote failing was Congress saying, hey, Trump, we don't want to do our job. You can do your job and our job. And I take my job very seriously. And I think the American people deserve to have us present evidence to them as to why we should go into a war. Spend your dollars, potentially sacrifice your loved ones for a war.
Which has already happened.
That is
already happened.
Yes, yes. And we've got folks stranded over there that we're not even doing our damnedest to bring home. And you have an administration that is talking with such a cavalier sensibility about this war. Yeah, people are going to die. Yeah, we don't know how much it's going to cost. Yeah, it's about regime change. Well, actually, it's not really. Oh, it was a bad deal. All of this nonsense and noise. The Republicans can't even find the right script to stick to.
That's right.
And war is serious, and people have died. And I also have to say, we have to separate the Iranian people in the country from an oppressive regime.
True.
And what gives us the right to unilaterally say, hey, I'm just going to go into this country and kill these people because I don't like them because they're doing something that's bad? Well, if people looked at what's happening in our country, they might say the same thing about us. We're a country that let ICE agents walk around masked up and shoot people, American citizens, in the back and in the face. We are a country that just snatched away healthcare from millions of people. That looks pretty rogue to me. And we haven't heard a peep from Tulsi Gabbard, who's supposed to be the National Director on Intelligence, who would be sharing information to justify why we would spend your money and potentially sacrifice your loved ones for a war. So I'm so fucking pissed.
Well, Tulsi's too busy running around seizing ballots to be able to be doing her job. I mean, and really, Marco Rubio, he's too busy having 17 jobs to be able to come and explain what's happening, and that involves him. I'm really worried too that we're now doing stuff in Ecuador. Cuba's on the horizon. I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff somewhere else, but not in our own backyards.
Right? I mean, this was the peacetime president. No more wars. No for
America. America first. America first.
Right? Why are we going over there? And then all of a sudden, from Department of Defense to Department of War, G.I. Joe Hegseth is up here saying,
"You're just now coming in. I'm gonna play this clip that's behind here. Like the videos you guys come in. Like the videos you guys come in."
We do indeed have some breaking news. This comes a day after a difficult couple of days on Capitol Hill in both the House and the Senate for KRISTI Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary. She is being replaced. KRISTI Noem, who served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, which is a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere that they're announcing on Saturday at Doral in Florida. The president says, "I thank KRISTI for her service at Homeland."
You have fun. I'm sorry I can't stick around for it, but God bless you. And may God continue to bless our great country.
We do indeed have some breaking news. This comes a day after a difficult couple of days on Capitol Hill in both the House and the Senate for KRISTI Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary. She is being replaced. KRISTI Noem, who has served us well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, which is a new initiative in the Western Hemisphere that they're announcing on Saturday at Doral in Florida. The president says, "I thank KRISTI for her service at Homeland."
So you have fun. I'm sorry I can't stick around for it, but God bless you. And may God continue to bless our great country.
Let's continue with the news.
Stop talking about Americans who've been killed. Shame on you. Well, I think we deserve to honor those folks. And I actually think those families deserve an explanation as to why their loved ones were killed. I think the rest of the country does too. And I think our allies and partners who we may be losing because of this deserve some explanations as well, because we will need their help at some point. And if they don't want to help us, I would understand why. You know, it's far more. It's bigger than the show they want to put on for us. Oh, and by the way, in the midst of all this happening, there was another drop of the Epstein files.
Yes, which had been hidden until Pammy Jo got her subpoena from House Oversight. Then suddenly these 48,000 files were not offline for review anymore and were able to be released. You know, I think the thing that makes me the most angry about all that is happening is it's such an insult to Americans to think that we don't have the intelligence to be paying attention to multiple things at one time, and that we don't have the intelligence or capacity to understand that they're trying to gaslight us and that they're lying to us. That, I think, is always the problem, because you don't have to be super dialed in to understand what this government is doing. And I got to say, Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove, I may have a personal bias, and I'll own it with our relationship, but I will say this. You just said a few minutes ago you take your job seriously. There has been an abdication of many electeds in D.C. on both sides. I want to be very clear here. Be very clear. Of their power. They were elected to go. Constituents elected you to go to Congress, and they gave you power to go use it. And yet, in myriad ways, several electeds are not using their power.
I don't understand that. And I have said, if you want Donald Trump to do your job, then you don't deserve to keep your job. We have two major roles. One is to have the power to declare war, and the other is the power of the purse. Well, the third role, we have three roles, is the power of oversight. So I went in Judiciary on Wednesday and conducted oversight on KRISTI Noem, okay? As hard as it looked, okay? And as uncomfortable as it made her feel, it was my job to do that. It was my job to vote yes on the war powers, to reclaim my power, which is receiving, sharing evidence with you to justify why I would say yes to war. And I have a responsibility to fight to bring money back to the district, to the departments that fund all of the services that we need. So if you don't want to do those three jobs, then don't be up here in Washington, D.C., booze.
Amen. And that concludes the sermon at the Church of Sidney Kamlager-Dove. Don't forget to put into that offertory right there. To that pass the plate.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Please hit the subscribe button. Press 3 if you're new where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 if you've been here before where you're watching from. Please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K. Thanks for being here. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Mullen and Noem. KRISTI Noem's out. Fox News, many others reporting that she was fired from the position. She was demoted, basically, to another position. And Trump, to his credit, gave her a soft landing. She had been loyal to him, so he didn't just fire her unceremoniously out of the position. But some online today, his diehard fans saying she wasn't fired, he didn't fire her. Was she terminated from the position or not, Mark?
Yeah, she was made it clear that she was not going to be allowed to stay in that job. And as you said, pretty generous of him to let her have a soft landing. It's amazing to me, given that she was picked for a job that many people at the time said she wasn't qualified for. How many enemies she and Corey Lewandowski, her top consigliere, how many enemies they had at the highest levels of Team Trump. These were not kind of like low-level snipers. These are some of the most senior people in the president's orbit who didn't want the two of them around. And all the mistakes that she made. It's amazing she lasted as long as she did. So I sort of twist the question on his head. How did she get fired all of a sudden? Again, testament to Corey Lewandowski and Secretary Noem that she survived as long as she did.
What were the reasons? Because I know he was mad about her saying he blessed that $220 million ad campaign she starred in, but this had to go beyond that. To me, that was the final straw. But many reports that he was unhappy with her well prior to that and didn't want it, especially after Minneapolis, didn't want it to look like he was giving the left a scalp. But what do you think it actually was that turned Trump on her?
Well, I think it's the drumbeat of negative coverage, right? He doesn't like negative coverage of his team. He doesn't like negative coverage that obscures what he wants to get done. And as you know, objectively.
But none of them has good coverage. The media hates Pete. They hate RFKJ. They hate her.
Her negative coverage was directly getting in the way of his getting credit for the accomplishment, for instance, of shutting down the border, or going into these blue cities and saying to the blue cities, there's a different operation going on in here, and we're gonna deport people from your blue city. Her performance was blamed by the president and people around the president for distracting from that. In addition, he doesn't like when his team loses a congressional hearing, particularly when the Republicans gang up on his team. And so you see other cabinet officials like Pam Bondi, who has some detractors in the administration as well, going to the Hill and owning the libs, right? Doing a really good job theatrically of standing up to Democrats.
in getting favorable questions from the Republicans. She did not perform well in back-to-back hearings, both on the issue of those paid ads, also on the allegations regarding her personal life. And I think the president just doesn't like that. He doesn't like to see his team lose in a congressional hearing. And it was compounded by the fact that some of the hardest questions came from Republicans, and not just from Tom Tillis, who now habitually goes after Trump administration policies, but from Senator Kennedy of Louisiana. Just knowing the president, it doesn't like to see that kind of performance.
I actually wondered whether the Senator Kennedy questions came from the White House.
I mean, it certainly could have come from allies of Senator Kennedy who are not friendly to Senator Noem, for sure, because I just can't emphasize enough even before she took office, the number of people at a high level in the Trump orbit who do not like Corey Lewandowski at all is quite something. And again, I'll say it's testament to the bond he has with the president, because he was the one arguing she should stay on for several weeks, even after the president was clearly looking to make a change. The bond he has with the president is strong, and his ability to convince the president of things is strong. And these people, they did their best to get them out by leaking stories to the Wall Street Journal and others, to Daily Mail and others. And it finally culminated again in something that even Corey Lewandowski could not turn the president on.
Here is Harry Enton on the Noem termination with some actual numbers around what she was doing for the president. SOT 12B.
And the American people wanted her fired. They wanted her removed. She was a political nightmare for the President of the United States. I mean, just take a look at this. Wanted Noem removed as DHS Secretary. Overall, last month, Quinnipiac University found the majority of Americans, 58%, wanted her to be adios amigos, goodbye, see you later. Among independents, you can see it right here, 62% of independents, we're talking more than 3 in 5 independents, wanted her kicked to the curb. So Donald Trump here making the politically popular move because Americans were simply put sick of Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem's net popularity rating during Donald Trump's term, positive in none, zero, nada, none of the polls did she have a positive net approval rating. In all the polls, she was underwater, swimming in the deep blue sea. She had a negative net popularity rating in every single poll conducted during Donald Trump's second term. Simply put, Americans did not like the job that she was doing as DHS Secretary. Your small business taxes.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Like the videos you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Good morning. Well, almost afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Please hit the subscribe button. There's 171 in the building.
I want to make, and then I want to give it to you. If you could absolutely say that same thing about RFKJ and Pete Hegseth, both of whom have had universally negative coverage, absolutely no positive coverage, and on Fox, of course, and independent media, but I'm talking about mainstream so-called media. But they're doing their thing. RFKJ is getting things done at HHS. Obviously, Pete Hegseth is too, in terms of what the president wants.
Good morning.
And their negatives are not so great, and their news coverage so big that they are hurting him. I think she hurt him with the behavior in Minneapolis, calling Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist and saying he went there to try to interfere with law enforcement and overstating. What he did was bad enough. It was clear he interfered with law enforcement, and that's why he wound up dead. But she overstated it and made ICE, as a result, look bad. And that turned into a negative story around Trump. And sure enough, Trump's numbers went down after Minneapolis, and that's the reason why he pulled her and put Homeland in there. So I think she started to creep into his numbers, and then that thing with Senator Kennedy was just like the final example of it. Even if Trump had approved that ad campaign, and I believe him that he didn't, he did want her to do ads and photo ops calling attention to the deportations. I've been told that, but 220 million, probably not. But even if he had approved it, Mark, the underling doesn't say, yes, the president told me to do it. The underling says, no, it was my call, Senator Kennedy. Or they dodge and just say, the decision was mine. I'm the one. They protect the president, and she didn't. So to me, it seems like a whole slide of she didn't protect the president. She was a problem for the president. Her negatives hurt him, and we see that still in his numbers, and therefore she had to go.
I agree with everything you said. I'd only add two things. One,
My friend Harry talks awfully loud on TV. Not sure what producer's in his ear, but man, I've dinner with Harry. He doesn't talk
So
that loud.
entertaining.
Yeah, it's a shtick.
Love the accent.
I agree with everything you said. All I'd add is this: like Bobby Kennedy is really important for MAGA for the midterms, and Maha for the midterms rather. Pete Hegg says this is in the midst of a war and has done a lot of the things the president wants done regarding reforming the culture of the military, and doesn't. Neither of them have the kind of scandals and controversies that Secretary Noem has in this respect. There's relentless coverage of her and her decisions about contract approvals, about those ads, about her personal life. And then it all came into sharp focus at the hearing. The other two have controversies, but they've avoided having these kind of very high profile set piece moments. The president thinks of his life as a movie with big scenes and characters. He's the main character, other characters. She had a horrible day in 2 straight days in the news cycle. And I think, although he was having questions about her previously, it's just too relentlessly downside negative about her, as you said, affecting him on one of his signature issues.
Think about this. In 2006, $20,000
Okay.
equaled roughly.
So thanks for being here, everyone. I hope everyone has a happy Saturday. There's about 185 in the building. Please, let's get the likes up to 100. Please, let's get the likes up to 100. It sounds as if a lot of people that's working for him really don't know what they're doing. It sounds like a lot of spending, not following up with things that they're supposed to be doing regarding their jobs. It sounds like there's a lot of people that's frustrated with people that he has working for him, and it's concerning. It also sounds as if when they're questioned about different things, they're trying to distract and not answer the question or being rude. It's all a concern. I don't know what's going to happen even with Pam Bondi as we listen to all the stuff that she's saying, being rude and disrespecting people. It's so concerning that some of these people are not doing their job and they're doing a lot of spending. So there's still 186 in the building. Please hit subscribe. If all 186 subscribe, that'll be an amazing day for me. I hope everyone has hit subscribe, and thank you for being here. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, so there's concerns. I mean, look at how people are being questioned. Yeah, you think? Yeah, a lot of them are not doing their jobs, and it's sad. It's making him look bad. He probably doesn't know what to say or do. And then for the person that's being put in Kristi's Noem position, he doesn't have the experience either. What in the world are they doing? And they looked up his education. They looked up his past work history. They looked him up, and he doesn't have the experience either. So it's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. Thanks for being here, everyone. Have a great Saturday. I hope you have hit subscribe, and if you have, thank you. I hope you continue to hit the like button. Thank you. I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. I appreciate you all. I often go live in the mornings, 9, 10, or 11 during the week. Sometimes on Saturday, 10 or 11 or 12. It just depends. Thanks for being here, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Be blessed. Goodbye.